phone. We'll have the story.
The numbers are staggering. We spend billions of dollars on a national level to improve road safety, and about 100 people die every day on the roads.
Then, teenagers who get sex advice from social media sites like Snapchat and Instagram might be setting themselves up for risky behavior.
Anyone can post something on TikTok, so they're quite likely going to be listening just to other adolescents, giving them advice on what they should and shouldn't do and what is and isn't safe.
Those two stories and more are coming your way on this edition of InfoTrack. Stay tuned. The show begins after this timeout.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Home Depot has everything you need to turn your home into a beacon of holiday cheer. So whether you're going all out or just adding a few holiday touches, we've got you covered with trees, yard decor, and more. Save time decorating with one of our easy-to-assemble pre-lit trees, or pick up a piece from our Yuletide Lane decor collection and fill your yard with holiday joy. Whatever your style, find everything to get your holidays started at the Home Depot.
Football season is heating up on Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So keep the season rolling by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Plus, the app for Prize Picks is really simple to use. Just pick 2 or more players across any sport, pick more or less on their projections, and if you're right, you could win big. Prize Picks is also available in 40-plus states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Most importantly, they don't play about your money. All transactions on the app are fast, safe, and secure. Don't miss any of the action this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Download the Prize Picks app today, use code SUNDAY, and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. That's code SUNDAY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 in lineups just for playing, guaranteed. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
InfoTrack, the weekly show with information you should know. Here's your host, Chris Whitting.
A recent report says that drivers who use their phone while on the road are 240% more likely to crash. But new technology may improve driving habits. Here with the story, InfoTrack reporter Jim Anthony. Jim?
Thanks, Chris. More than 200,000 lives have been lost on U.S. roads just in the past 5 years. A new report from the Governor's Highway Safety Association and Cambridge Mobile Telematics is calling for a bold shift, using predictive analytics to prevent crashes before they happen. My guest is Ryan McMahon, Senior Vice President at Cambridge Mobile Telematics, a company dedicated to making roads safer with advanced technology and AI. Ryan, welcome to InfoTrack.
Thank you for having me.
200,000 is a staggering number. From your perspective, why has it been so difficult to move the needle on roadway safety, and why is now the time for a different approach?
I think that it has become the background, the norm of the roads, that people are in crashes and that lives are lost on a daily basis. I think if you compare it to other modes of transportation, the level of risk is so much higher, but the level of attention that other modes of transportation get when there is an issue, when something does occur, that's the bottom line where attention comes in to solve problems. And yet, when you add up all of the incidents from just, the last year, last 2, 5, 10, the numbers are staggering. But because they come in each individual crash with each individual story, and because each incident doesn't have the level of scale that some of the incidents have in other modes of transportation, it just hasn't garnered the same level of attention. And because of that, I think people have gotten used to it.
So this report or action plan is about preventing crashes, not just responding to them. So can you break down what that shift really looks like in practice?
Yeah, I think if you look at where the cause of the crash has been investigated in the past. Most of those investigations are occurring from a law enforcement perspective, where their time and attention is really to try to identify the fault of an individual person. And then is there a criminal penalty? Is there liability from a civil perspective? And then the insurance industry is involved after that point with their own investigations. In rare cases, you have folks like the NTSB that will investigate roadway, highway crashes. But most of the time, the crash information, the data, the information that we use to identify what caused that crash is originating from a very limited subset of information, a very limited subset of sources. So as a result, the information over the last decade or so points to a very limited number of causes of crashes. And if it doesn't fall within the purview of the officer to identify those elements, then they may go unnoticed. For example, you may have a pavement surface condition that is causing drivers that are braking hard not to be able to gain enough traction to stop in time for perhaps an infrastructure issue that has been present for a number of years after a new building went into construction. All of this information is coming in from a daily source to try to identify what's happening on the roads, but that information isn't necessarily paired with the information of what causes crashes. And what the report between CMT and GHSA has done is start to connect those sources in a way that helps those that are in a position to improve highway safety to ultimately be able to start to use information that can paint a picture prior to that crash occurring, as opposed to waiting for ultimately that crash to happen and then the investigation goes down a path that is fairly narrow in scope.
So it's using tools like AI and telematics risk assessments to actually see or identify a crash before it happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the insurance industry, there's a really good corollary. About a decade ago, the insurance industry started to offer to consumers the ability to have their price calculated based on how they drive, as opposed to their record. Their record is a function of how they drive plus their interaction with the legal system. But in reality, we know that it's rare for somebody to get pulled over. And you could have somebody with a very clean record that's an unsafe driver. They just happen to be in areas where it's not as observable. So what happened with the insurance industry is they started to offer better prices to drivers that were willing to create their own records. Initially, that came in through OBD2 ports, where drivers would plug in a device to their car and send it back to the insurance company to assess things like hard braking and speeding. And what's happened since then is most of that sensor technology has moved to the smartphone. And the smartphone has been able to gather that information. So over 50 million consumers are opted into programs that allow them to have their price based on how they drive. And with that element, it enables them the ability to fundamentally get all of the benefits from that safe driving record, but that safe driving record is now a function of their actual observed risk versus the luck that happens from when somebody gets into a situation where they may or may not be interacting with law enforcement. So if that information is helpful to the insurance industry and they're pricing billions of dollars of insurance based on it, then that same methodology can be used on a public perspective to try to identify the precursors to crashes, the precursors to the errors, the precursors that lead to serious injuries and fatal crashes.
But one concern people often raise with data and AI is privacy. How do these safety tools protect a driver's personal information while still being effective?
Yeah, it's a good question. From a privacy perspective, the ultimate information that's used to predict and identify and understand what causes crashes is really not anything about an individual. The sensor information that observes elements like hard braking is looking at the preponderance of concentrations of those activities within an area, and then helping to identify and understand what's underlying that condition. From a privacy perspective, no individual information is needed to identify that. And really, when it comes to privacy, the main component, and it's just discussed fairly well in the report, is removing the trip information from the incident. So if an incident is a hard braking event, for example, and you can start to identify and gather where a preponderance of those hard braking events are occurring, you're not seeing where that trip occurred. All you're seeing is that at a particular stretch of road at a particular time, there is a concentration of hard braking events that are occurring in that particular area. You don't know who, you don't know what type of vehicle they're driving, you don't know where they started or when they ended their journey. You just know that at that particular place, there's a concentration. And this is pretty interesting because you can start to build a picture of what's happening on the road without ever knowing anything about the individual. And in fact, it's a step forward in privacy because for a long time, a lot of the efforts that have occurred in road safety have been focused on identifying the individual, identifying the people, and trying to build patterns around different subgroups of individuals. And there's certainly people that are more represented in serious injury and fatal crashes. But the reality is that we know that there really is no safe or unsafe driver. There are safe or unsafe trips. And if you can break down the components of those safety elements away from those drivers, then from a privacy perspective, all you're seeing is where those incidents are happening. And then it allows you to look at it from a different perspective. And we've been able to find things that are pretty eye-opening from that approach that are fully guarding of an individual's privacy. Ultimately, every time there's a crash, even if it's not a severe crash, it certainly impacts everybody else on the roads.
Ryan McMahon with Cambridge Mobile Telematics. Thanks for joining us today on InfoTrack.
Thank you.
And I'm Jim Anthony for InfoTrack.
Next, sex advice from social media. That story as InfoTrack continues.
Stick around. There's more InfoTrack straight ahead.
Football season is heating up on Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So keep the season rolling by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Plus, the app for Prize Picks is really simple to use. Just pick 2 or more players across any sport, pick more or less in their projections, and if you're right, you could win big. Prize Picks is also available in 40-plus states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Most importantly, they don't play about your money. All transactions on the app are fast, safe, and secure. Don't miss any of the action this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Download the Prize Picks app today, use code SUNDAY, and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. That's code SUNDAY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 in lineups just for playing, guaranteed. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code COOL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code COOL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code COOL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Now, InfoTrack continues. Once again, here's Chris Whitting.
Snapchat and Instagram are popular social media sites for teens, but the sex advice offered on those